Hi everyone, and welcome to this follow-up video on the plugin development that I've been doing. So previously I posted a couple of videos about an instant sampler and a looper based sampler, and so what I've done, actually, I was thinking that the functionality is fairly similar, but there's some shared code, so I wanted to put them together. So I've got the latest version, development version running here. So this is in, you see the looper mode, it's in Savvy Host again, and what I've added is a tab selection down here, which is a parameter which can be set by your DAW, and it either runs in this mode or in sampler. But the idea is this, to use it for beatboxing, and as I'm rubbish at beatboxing, I added a load sample feature, so I can click load. So that's essentially just loaded a kick sample, and then I can play back that kick. I can load a different sample. That's quite similar. So there we go. So there we go. So so that then allows you to actually physically load a sample rather than having to sort of make it with your own voice, which for me is still quite tricky. So so that's some useful functionality that I've added. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was how to control this, and I've been investigating different ways of doing this. Obviously you've got mouse and stuff, which isn't very intuitive. You've got control surfaces, and I do have a launch pad here next to me. And if I put it in, actually if I put it in note mode, oh yeah, because the reason why that's not working is, all I need to do is change devices, change from Midi to, not receiving any Midi. Excellent, well done Angus. So yeah, as you can see there, when this is actually sent to receive MIDI from the right place, then it does quite successfully. Right, so that's that, which is all good. So we've now got ability to load samples or record samples, which is all pretty standard stuff. We've got our threshold as well, which is sort of fine. We've got a different number of voices. We can have one voice if we want it to be a one shot, or multiple if you want to spread a sample across the whole keyboard to play multiple things at once. So the next thing is around control. So in order to control your instruments, typically you do this thing with MIDI. You might know Midi CC commands, which they're called command control commands. Yeah, and there's a number of them from 0 to 27. Essentially, and you have a value for those commands from 0 to 27 as well. So you could set, let's say, volume would be command 7, set it to 27, you set it to maximum volume. And there's a list of these here. If you wanted to use these in your own plugins and stuff, then you could set your plugins to respond to the ones that are undefined. Although, to be honest, in things like Ableton and stuff, because you use a specific channel for a specific instrument, and it doesn't really matter because you can use any of them, because if you're not using that specific controller, then you can just use whichever ones you want to. So the other thing you might have heard of is open sound control. So this is a protocol for connecting different instruments together by sending messages between sort of servers and clients, and that is well documented, standard, and there are a number of things that support this. Certainly I think there's something for Macs for Live which does. There is some things like Touch OSC. Some of the commercial, some of them are closed source, and they require an app or something. Lima is another thing which I think it does its own thing in terms of protocol and stuff. I think it supports OSC as well, but again, that hasn't had a huge amount of love. I think they're just basically doing a bare minimum to maintain it at the moment. So I had a look around and I came across this thing called Open Stage Control, which is awesome. So it's open source. It runs on any platform that can run JavaScript. So it's an Electron framework, JavaScript framework, which runs on Node.js and Linux, Mac, and Windows. There are other things, basically anything that can run Node. I mean, you could probably run it on Raspberry Pi if you wanted to, with an attached touchscreen. So yeah, and basically what it is, there's a server aspect of it, there's a launcher to launch the server, and then there's a client. So the client is literally just a web browser. So any compatible browser will be able to connect to it. It's really super simple to get up and running. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do that for you. Now I downloaded it to Open Stage Control. If you go here, I'll leave the link in the description below as to where you can get hold of it. But literally click this. I downloaded it, I unpacked it, and this is what you come with. Don't really have to worry too much about anything else that's in there. Literally just run Open Stage Control. Now, the two things that we need to get it working are, we need a port number, which I've put is 5000, and then we need a MIDI port. So in terms of a MIDI port, I use a thing called Loopmidi, which creates a virtual hardware MIDI port, which you can then send stuff to and from, and other apps can connect to it as well. So that's a thing called Loopmidi. Again, I'll put this in the description below. Really super simple. You download it, you start it running, it sits in your taskbar here, and all you have to do, call this OSC2, add, and that just adds a second OSC MIDI port called OSC2, which you can then connect to. So I'll leave OSC1 here working. So that's all we need. So, and then in terms of what else do we need to run Open Stage Control? We need to give these two IDs on the end. So these are the MIDI in and MIDI out devices. So we go the little dots menu, go Control M, list MIDI devices. So what we've got here, we want to know the ID of this, which is 1 : OSC1 for inputs, and then for outputs, this is 2, OSC2. So we write OSC : so OSC is the name here, colon, and then you want 1, 2. Super simple, and port 5000. That's it. We can by default load a particular session layout, but I'll cover that in a second. So we click start, and that's it. So this is a sort of the client app at the moment, and it also tells you here that you can go to a browser at this address, which is my local address. So we can stick that in there, and then we've got Open Stage Control. So I just need to create a new session. So we've got a designer here, so let me get rid of that, and then we've got some other stuff here. So the first thing I want to do, if you're making a cool layout, add a widget container. Let's add a panel. So this is a panel, you can drag them around and all sort of fun stuff. So in terms of geometry, I want this to be at 0, 0, and then it's always a good idea to use percentages for your widths and heights, which means you don't then get stuck with, you don't then get stuck having to work out pixel values and stuff. As long as it all looks as in proportion, then no matter what size you are and what size screen and stuff, it should scale relatively correctly, and that's the least sort of impact way of having to worry too much about that. Right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to create a button, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a button that sends middle C note, so I can play back my sample. Cool. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to right click, add widget, basics button. So I've got a thing called button 1, and again for the positioning side of things, if you put in here percent, and oops, and then you move this around, what you'll notice is that these all update automatically for you. That means that when you position that here and you make it like, let's say like that, it will should always be in the same position, and you won't have to say it's, you know, top left plus 10, whatever. It just does it for you. You can style a button, all sorts of usual standard HTML stuff. Interesting thing you might want to do, all buttons look better when they have rounded corners. That is actually an actual fact. And you can put any CSS you like in there at all. So there we go, we've got rounded button corner. We don't necessarily want it called button 1. We want it to be have an interesting label. So if I go to button, the label, I want to call it push me. So that means push me, and then in terms of button style here, the mode, the toggle, either click on, click off. It can be push, so you push and hold and let go, push, hold, let go, or it can be in tap mode, which literally just tap and it just pulses on and off. So I'm going to leave it in tap. And then the only other interesting thing is the OSC bit. So what do we want to do? We want to send a /note command. That's the address that we want to send a note. Where are we going to send it? So we're going to send it over MIDI, and we're going to send it to the MIDI device called OSC. And then we want some pre-args. So the args for a MIDI note are the MIDI channel, which is, let's choose 6, and the MIDI note number, which is 60, which is middle C. And then the other thing we want to do here is actually on the button, is we want to set this to 100. So that means when we click it, it's going to send a value of 100 as the volume essentially for the click. That's not doing anything at the moment because we need to select MIDI devices, and we need to select this to be OSC. Go OK, and then hopefully. So yeah, that's my. Let's do another one. Let's go. Do 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 do. There you go. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Awesome. Do 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 do. So we have made a control that sends the note C4. So I can copy that, I can paste it ID +1. What you'll see here is that's just create a new button called button 2. Yeah, very good. Right, let's change the volume. Let's change that to be 30. Let's click it again. Awesome. So we've got a new button here. Let's play it higher. Let's put it. Let's add 12. So that's 72. So that should be 12 semitones. Awesome. So we've created 2 simple buttons that do stuff. They talk to our sampler, and that is pretty cool. Right. So the other thing I mentioned was open sound control. So I've started to implement in here. So the reason why I wanted to be able to automate loading a sample as well. So the idea is I wanted a button here, so I can preload. I can click a button and it would load a kick or a snare or a hi-hat. So I wanted, to end up with some banks of buttons that do stuff. So what I did in the code, I'll just show you. It's really simple in OSC. Essentially all you need to do here is I've got connect OSC port. I've hard coded the port to be 7010, and then I add a listener, and I'm listening for this command, which is /is/sample. Let me copy that, and then I've got a handler which basically says that when I get OSC message, if the pattern is is load sample, then load the file, and there's some code to load the file, which is the same code that is used to when you click the button, it loads the file into the sampler. So cool. Let us copy. Let's paste with ID +1. Let's change this to load sample. Cool. So now the OSC side of things, the address is /is/load sample. The pre-args, so the args we're going to pass in, essentially is going to be the path to the WAV that we want to load, and then the target is literally just the IP address of the this machine. Actually, it could be any machine, but it's this machine, and the port, which I said was 7010. Sorry. Cool. So pre-args, I need to find in resources WAVs kick. So I've got something here. So let me copy that, and let me paste the pre-args in there and go / I think it's kick1.wav. Okay. So if I bring this up here, this here, so this, yeah. So I click that, and the WAV loaded. So then, cool, awesome. So that is it. That's how easy it was. I loaded that sample. So let me just quickly, let's just make this a little bit smaller. Leave that there. Let's copy this again. Let's paste ID +1. Let's bring this in here. Call this load sample 2. Just change the path down here to be kick 12. This is why it's not working. It's because it's changed that. Cool, right. So excellent. So that was a little thing to watch out for then. So it changed the destination of the address. When I copied it, it added 1 onto it. So that's why that didn't work previously. So anyway, so essentially what I'm doing, I've got kick 15 there. I've got kick 12 on this one. Load kick 12 or load kick 15. So there you can see, really simple. But very powerful way of building user interfaces up really quickly. I've got I've got some obviously some optimizing and other stuff to do here. I want to be able to set the OSC port through the UI, actually possibly through a MIDI control message. Actually, that might be quite handy. Because maybe actually but yeah, in the Ableton Live set I'll have multiple ones of these. I'll have one which will be mapped across the keyboard, and then I'll have probably 8 different single shots for kicks, hats, snares, claps, other sort of single shot drums and toms and stuff that you want to build up. So if they'll all need to respond to a different port to be able to listen on a different port to be able to load samples and stuff. And you can extend, you can essentially write any functionality you like. I think the open source control standard allows you to pass in floats, ints, strings, and you can pass in callback URLs and that kind of thing as well, so you can get OSC to send you back stuff to a listener. So essentially I could send an OSC command and I could receive something else back and do some funky stuff with the UI. Very powerful. But I wanted just to show you how quick and easy that was to build a very simple UI. So I'm going to be extending this, building this out, and then showing how that then works with a bigger live set to build up, you know, a complete sort of control surface. The other cool thing about this is because it's just a browser, right? This is the other cool thing, is that you know, it just works on any device. So if I just make sure I save this, so it's called YT Test 2. Let's take it out of editor mode. So yeah, so let's take it out of editor mode, and let me just bring up the this. So what I've got is I've got my phone here, which is pointed to, if you can see, it's pointed to the same, very helpful, yeah, it's pointed to the same URL. Cool. So I don't know if you can see this, it's not actually, that's a bit better. So I can click load a different sample in. I literally can't see anything, sorry. Yeah, anyway, so that's an Android phone. So I don't have an iPad, I can't afford loads of iPads, I don't have any Apple devices really in the house, but yeah, so this means you can get a generic sort of cheapy Android tablet and just run Chrome full screen, or, you know, you could use a laptop that's got a touchscreen interface, or you could buy an external touchscreen monitor. You know, you can get 15-inch, 17-inch, 21-inch ones from Amazon for relatively cheap. Certainly a 20-inch external HDMI monitor is a lot cheaper than the 20-inch tablet would cost you for touchscreen. And yeah, literally just gives you the ability to get hands-on with, you know, with your DAW, which is what you want to improve creativity. So anyway, this video has turned out to be pretty long. I'll make sure that I cut it up. Yeah, really thanks for watching if you've made it this far. So I guess what I covered was, you know, some of the development work that you know, I've done on the plugin to allow you to load a sample. I then exposed that load sample functionality to OSC. There's a verb in OSC, I guess, which is the load sample one. And then we looked at open stage control and how easy it was then just to build an interface that not only sends MIDI notes, can send Midi CC data as well. I didn't actually show you that, but that's super simple. So for the button, instead of sending /note, you send /control, and then yeah, you just basically send the to the same thing to the port. You send command 45, and then you can send a value with it as well, and that's what will get sent. Yeah, that's it really. So yeah, I will start sharing more as I have progressed this side of things, and then also start to show how this will all link together with Ableton. Maybe show a bit about the Ableton set, how that's set up. But anyway, yeah, if you've got any questions, please do leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, found it useful in any kind of way, then please do click like. And if you'd like to stay up to date and hear more of this sort of content, then please do click that subscribe button and be notified as to when I post new content. So hopefully I'll be updating this pretty regularly. And thanks for watching, and yeah, catch you on the next time. Cheers.